of engineers is lower among women. So you can't hire 50% women engineers without producing a decrement in the quality of the engineers, because this selection pool is too small.
Jordan Peterson is a Canadian clinical psychologist, social commentator, author, and professor of psychology. He's known for his somewhat controversial comments on political, social, and cultural issues. He began to receive widespread attention as a public intellectual in the late 2010s for his views on cultural and political issues, often described as conservative. Peterson has described himself as a classic British liberal and a traditionalist. By 2018, he'd put his clinical practice and teaching duties on hold and published his second book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. Promoted with a world tour, it became a bestseller in several countries.
Period of time in one isolated location. But there, of course, if you have a new manager come in and he's doing all sorts of new things, there's 50 reasons why the company is going to fail or succeed.
If you enjoy these videos, please remember to hit the like button, as it does help us out a lot. And comment below who your favorite celebrity is that you'd love to see in an upcoming video.
His full name is Jordan Burnt Peterson, but is also known as Jordan. He was born June 2, 1962 in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, making him age 60 at the time of this production. He stands at 1.87 meters or 6 feet 2 inches tall. Starting around 2000, Peterson began collecting Soviet-era paintings. His favorite color is lead. Peterson ranked the Gulag Archipelago as the #1 book that influenced him. Peterson constantly shares stories from the book during his lectures, as well as talks about Solzhenitsyn's other great books. Peterson even wrote a foreword to the 50th anniversary edition of the book. Peterson said Crime and Punishment, along with the brothers Karamazov, would be tied for second place as the books that most influenced him. Peterson is constantly referencing Dostoevsky's work during his lectures and has called Dostoevsky one of his favorite authors and recommends reading all 5 of his great novels. As a teenager, Peterson decided that religion was for the ignorant, weak, and superstitious, and hoped for a left-wing revolution, a hope that lasted until he met left-wing activists in college. In 2018, Kalefa Sana wrote in The New Yorker that Peterson is now one of the most influential and polarizing public intellectuals in the English-speaking world. In 2016, Peterson had a severe autoimmune reaction to food and was prescribed clonazepam, a benzodiazepine. Peterson doubts the scientific consensus on climate change, saying he's very skeptical of the models that are used to predict climate change and that you can't trust the data because too much ideology is involved. Appearing on the Joe Rogan Experience in 2022, Peterson stated that there's no such thing as climate and questioned the accuracy of climate modeling. Climate scientists accuse Peterson of being stunningly ignorant and of confusing weather forecasting with climate modeling. In junior high school, Peterson became friends with Rachel Notley and her family. Notley became leader of the Alberta New Democratic Party and the 17th Premier of Alberta. Peterson married Tammy Roberts in 1989. The couple has a daughter, Michaela, and a son, Julian.
As measured by racial or gender representation has any bearing whatsoever on creativity, productivity, outcome, any of the things you're measuring. None of that research is credible in the least.
He grew up in Fairview, a small town in the northwest of the province. He was the eldest of 3 children born to Walter and Beverly Peterson. Beverly was a librarian at the Fairview campus of Grand Prairie Regional College, and Walter was a school teacher. Peterson grew up in a mildly Christian household. After graduating from Fairview High School in 1979, Peterson entered Grand Prairie Regional College. He later transferred to the University of Alberta, where he completed his BA in Political Science in 1982. Afterward, he took a year off to visit Europe, where he began studying the psychological origins of the Cold War, 20th century European totalitarianism, and the works of Carl Jung, Friedrich Nietzsche, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, and Fyodor Dostoevsky. Peterson then returned to the University of Alberta and received a BA in psychology in 1984. In 1985, he moved to Montreal to attend McGill University. He earned his PhD in clinical psychology under the supervision of Robert O. Peel in 1991 and remained as a postdoctoral fellow at McGill's Douglas Hospital until June 1993. working with Peel and Maurice Dongier. He conducted research and also taught in the psychology department at Harvard University in the capacity of an assistant and associate professor from July 1993 till June 1998. During his time at Harvard, he studied aggression arising from drug and alcohol abuse. In 1999, he came up with a book titled Maps of Meaning: The Architecture of Belief, published by Routledge. Beginning in 2003, Peterson appeared on television speaking on a subject from a psychological perspective. On TV Ontario, he appeared on Big Ideas in 2003 and 2006, and in a 13-part lecture series based on Maps of Meaning, which aired in 2004. In a 2007 BBC Horizon documentary, Mad But Glad, Peterson commented on the connection between pianist Nick Van Bloss' Tourette's syndrome diagnosis and his musical talent. In 2011, TV Ontario's The Agenda featured Peterson as an essayist and panelist on psychologically relevant cultural issues. For most of his career, Peterson maintained a clinical practice, seeing about 20 people a week. He's been active on social media, and in September 2016, he released a series of videos in which he criticized Bill C-16. In February 2018, Peterson entered into a promise with the College of Psychologists of Ontario after a professional misconduct complaint about his communication and the boundaries he sets with his patients. In April 2019, Peterson debated Slavoj Žižek at the Sony Theatre in Toronto over happiness under capitalism versus Marxism. In the fall of 2021, Peterson resigned from his employment at the University of Toronto, becoming Professor Emeritus.
It probably makes you better at jobs that involve care of people, because agreeableness seems to be that trait that facilitates interpersonal care.
In a 2019 interview with Martin Wheel, Jordan claimed that he was making $80,000 per month from his Patreon account at that point. He deleted his Patreon account in January 2019. In the same interview, Jordan claimed to be earning $35,000 per speaking engagement and roughly $200,000 per month from his consulting firm/clinical practice. He's also presumably earned a decent chunk of money from book royalties. He's reportedly sold around 5 million books during his career to date. If he was earning just $1 a book, that would be $5 million pre-tax. Though it's unclear what actual rate he's receiving or how many books he may have needed to sell to pay down production costs. Also in June 2022, Peterson signed a deal with the news company The Daily Wire, which includes the distribution rights to Peterson's video and podcast library. Peterson will also produce bonus content and specials featuring guests for the video-on-demand platform Daily Wire Plus. Jordan Peterson has a net worth of $8 million. He owns a house in Toronto, Canada. The house features 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a massive swimming pool, and a library. Norman Doidge, who wrote the foreword to Peterson's best-selling book, 12 Rules for Life, visited Peterson on more than one occasion, and he describes the Peterson house as the most fascinating and shocking middle-class home I'd seen. Among the fascinations was an impressive collection of unusual artwork. They had art, some carved masks, and abstract portraits, but they were overwhelmed by a huge collection of original Soviet realist paintings of Lenin and the early communists commissioned by the USSR. He likely owns the following cars: a Mercedes SL 550, a Bentley Continental GTC, a Ferrari SV90,
a Rolls-Royce,